Today I'm speaking with Dr. Michelle Hanna. Thank you for coming and talking to me, Dr. Michelle. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you too. I'm glad we get to share this space for a moment.
Sure, thank you. And could you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. I am Dr. Michelle R. Hanna, and what I do is I help singles and couples emotionally heal, connect deeper to intimacy, and ultimately live authentically. I think that probably maybe 90% of America needs to basically tap into that for sure. We could all use some healing being that we're in this pandemic.
All right. So your specialty is, because we want to talk about your work and how you can help our audience, especially solo moms. And so let's talk about your work, and then, we can.
Okay, so what really stood out to me about your podcast in regards to solo moms is because I was a solo mom for 17 years. I was going through a divorce. My baby I think she was just turning 2. It's been so long ago. I think she was just turning 2. And I never imagined that I was going to be raising her, not so much by myself, because thank God I did have like a mother that really did help me. And I think that was so important. I don't know how I could have done it without that. I did not have a large tribe to really connect with. So all I had was really my mom and then I had another friend that kept children. And so she almost kind of just connected really closely with my daughter. And I'm so grateful for that, because then she ended up also being a support to me probably around when my daughter was about 4 or 5. So I am thankful for that. But what I did realize is that in being a solo mom, I had no self-care regimen. I was full of guilt. I could not juggle a whole lot of things that were happening in just 24 hours. I was so overwhelmed. So I didn't even know that my self-love had totally been compromised. And so I realized that, wow, if I'm feeling this way, what about the person that doesn't have any support? What about when the kid gets sick and you have to go take your child to the doctor, but you're scared you're going to get fired? And so those were things that I just began to have a lot more compassion for, because I just didn't think that I would ever be in that situation. But here I was,
Yeah.
So that's what really stood out to me about your podcast, because I think solo moms, they get judged and people don't realize how hard that job really is. And that's just one of your jobs. You still have to basically work. Sometimes solo moms are going to school and working and trying to, take care of their children, drop them off in the morning to daycare, which is very expensive. And then they have to go to aftercare, another expense. So I totally understand that journey, because I was once there.
Yes. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I think we're the biggest judge of ourselves, because I've interviewed solo moms and I've asked them about self-care. It's kind of one of my questions, and they'll go, oh no, I don't have time for that. I have to take care of my children. So can you respond to that statement?
So yes, you do. You have to take care of your children. They are your responsibility. However, think about it. If you're unhealthy, meaning with the lack of self-care, and you're not checking in with your self-love, and maybe your messaging to yourself is not kind, you show up the same way for your kids, because you're that person. Now it's become you. So when you enter the room, when you have conversations, when you are frustrated, all of that shows up to your kids. And sometimes we think, oh, they're small. They don't hear this. They don't feel this. They don't see whatever is going on. But I'm telling you, kids hear, they see, they feel. And so what ends up happening is, let's say you're just so busy. You got to work, you got to cook, you have to get in your car sometimes and drive an hour just to go to work and all of those different things, right? So sometimes you're a little short on your patience, or you keep telling your kid, okay, just in a minute, hold on. Or you're on the computer, you're like, I can hear you, but you're not giving them any eye contact. What that then, well, it could start to formulate the self-concept of the child of, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to connect with my mom, or I'm not good enough to have a conversation with my mom, or what I'm doing. Like maybe I've drawn a picture and I'm trying to show my mom, but she's so frustrated. It's like, oh, I guess I'm not a good artist. Well, maybe I shouldn't even do that anymore. So now the self-concept begins to develop. And guess what then happens? Now you have potentially a child that is now going to go into relationships at some point with I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. Or in school, thinking I'm not good enough could either cause a child to just forget it. I'm not going to try, maybe behavioral issues, or says, I got to do everything 100, 500 times better because I got to excel. I got to be worthy. I got to be valued, because the fact that messaging was what was presented by that mother, not on purpose, mm-hmm. not with, being intentional about it, but just being who she is in that moment, which is overworked, tired, frustrated, feeling like she doesn't get a break, right? Mm-hmm. So if you then say, okay, you know what? I got to interrupt this. I got to pause. I got to figure out, how do I get self-care? How do I implement it in my day? So I would say take just one little step, take baby steps first. Don't try to do everything overnight. It's not going to work and you're not going to keep to it. Yeah. So let's say we give ourselves 15 to 30 minutes a day. That does not mean 15 to 30 minutes on your social media. That doesn't mean 15 to 30 minutes on your laptop. That does not mean 15 to 30 minutes even with your kid, That's not what that means. Or your, whomever, friends, whatever, phone ringing, emergencies. Emergencies maybe, but in terms of everything else, what I'm trying to say, real emergencies. Because sometimes my emergency is not your emergency, right? So, but giving yourself that 15 to 30 minutes to disconnect from everything and to reconnect back to yourself. And it could be as simple as, because I love baths. I just love it. I love, just lighting my candles and getting in the bath and just being. It could be 15 to 30 minutes of that. It could be 15 to 30 minutes of fun. Fun could be, for me, I read a lot. So when I get to look at a fashion magazine, I am in bliss at the moment, because I'm not reading anything. I'm just looking at all the pretty colors and the visualization. That's enough to get me disconnected so I can start rejuvenating myself to re-enter the space again. So I would say to at least just start off with that. Maybe you have small children when they're napping. That's your time. Mm-hmm. That's not your time to do busy work. That's your time, because you got to get it where you can, fit it in. Right, but I would say start with 15 to 30 minutes, even if you have to get up a little earlier, I think that it's just so worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. It's funny that my Instagram post this morning was a 30-minute clip of a woman in a bathtub bubbling.
So, yes. Yeah. It's so healing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I'm hearing you say that self-care, which a lot of us solo moms often reject and neglect, affects us in two ways. One, it affects us personally, right? Mm-hmm. But it also affects and long-term effects on our children, whom we are saying we're not doing self-care for.
Yes, absolutely. Here's one thing that I do want to give your audience, which is a really cool tip. Mm-hmm. And we can start teaching our kids this at a young age. So I call it 5, 5, and 5.
Okay.
5 minutes when you get up in the morning, you are going to pray, meditate. That's what you're going to do. I mean, 5 minutes isn't a very long time, but I'm trying to give you your 15 minutes here. So 5 minutes, we pray, we meditate, we get our mind back into focus. 5 more minutes, we are going to stretch. We got to basically stretch, because sometimes tension just continues to build up, and it's because we don't stretch. We just jump out of bed. Everything's in a rush. Jump out of bed, jump in the shower, jump from the shower. You know, we're trying to do makeup in the car, which is not safe, but makeup in the car and doing our hair and all these different things. Then we got to get the kids ready. It's a lot going on. Yeah. So that 5 minutes of just meditation, prayer, stretch is so important. Then 5 more minutes, what we're going to do is we are going to take 5 minutes to be intentional about our day. This is not journaling. It's just writing a couple of things down. I usually write no more than 3 to be intentional about my day. So in other words, if I wake up and I feel like I have some fear that's, at the surface there. So now what I'm going to do to be intentional about my day is to connect with positivity and people that inspire me in terms of courage, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to take calls from a family member that may be that one that is constantly in fear all the times. They're always going through the what if this and what if that. Nope. That's not going to be in my day today, because I have to focus and be intentional about what it is that I need for my day. Maybe the intention is I am going to take 30 minutes with my child once I get home, regardless of what happened in the day, regardless of maybe how frustrated I am. I'm going to take 30 minutes where I'm fully present and I'm looking into my child's eyes. They're looking into my eyes, and I'm going to hug on them. They're going to hug on me. I'm going to ask them about their day, and I'm going to tell them about mommy's day as well, in regards to what's age appropriate. But, and so that's an intention, right? I'm going to be intentional about that. I'm not going to just think it in my head and then feel guilty because I haven't done it. Yeah. But I'm going to say, no, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to change this around today. You also need to allow your kids to see and to understand when you do self-care, how does that feel? So again, we can go back to the bath, right? So once you are going in there to take a bath, I told one of my clients, put a little, it doesn't matter what color it is, but you could, let's just say a red scarf you put on the door. And so now your child knows that, that's mommy time, for 15 to 30 minutes, and to keep them occupied. So where you could just take a moment to connect. And then what that's going to do is teach them how important that is. Because when mommy comes out of that bath, she's smiling, she's calm. Those are messages that you are now teaching your child. So I think those things are so important. And as the child begins to grow, you then start having age appropriate conversations with them about having a self-care regimen. Mm-hmm. So, you guys can start doing it together, because it's important that they learn from, an early age, how important that is.
Yes, thank you. Break the generational curse. That's one of those things, because we, especially as Black mothers, we just think we have to do everything for everybody but ourselves. And then our daughters grow up the same way. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I you know what I call it? I call it emotional, like having an emotional deficit. So basically, we want to be wealthy in our emotions, because wealthy means that from generation to generation to generation, my emotional connection and what I poured in to my daughter, she poured into her daughter, and then her daughter into her daughter. That's when you have wealthy emotional connection, right? When you have a profit is good, but profit may only connect to the people like around you and yourself. So now we're not talking about generational, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we hear everybody talking about generational wealth, same thing, but I'm talking about emotions, right? Or then even we may have the break-even syndrome. Well, I didn't really lose anything, didn't really gain anything. I'm just going to stay kind of right here because I feel safe. I'm scared to take a risk, and I don't want to really lose anything, but I'm scared to take a risk to gain something, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the deficit. So this is a lot of single moms. They're in the deficit of emotional connection and emotional healthy. So that's when you are on fumes. So I know that we've all been here where, we're looking at our car, we're on our way home. We know that we are now past E. We are praying that we make it home, but we don't want to stop for gas because we're so tired. So we're praying, okay, Lord, just please let me make it home today. I won't ever do this again, which is not true. We end up being there again, right? And we're like, just let me make it home. Okay. And then when I get up in the morning, please let me make it to the gas station, because we know we are so far past E, right? So basically we're on fumes. I connect with that because a lot of times I was on fumes and I was operating from a person that's on a fumes. As single mothers, I feel that when you're half empty, but you can only know that if you're doing check-ins. When you're half empty, that's when everything stops. And you say, oh no, I'm half empty. I got to fill myself back up. Because even when you're operating on half empty, that's not healthy either. But a lot of times, like I said, single mothers are operating on fumes. They're literally surviving and sometimes barely surviving. They don't even understand what it is to live at that point.
Yes, I can understand that and empathize as a solo mom of 3 sons and not taking care of myself then and trying to run for a bus one day and couldn't. My body said, no way.
Wow. 3 sons. You could have stopped right there because 3 sons, that's a lot. I think it's different raising girls than it is raising boys. I really do. I totally commend you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And I appreciate you, sharing so much of your knowledge with us. I am so glad that we worked the tech out and got to do this. Sure. What is Dr. Hannah grateful for today?
I am grateful for my ability to forgive myself quicker and to love myself harder. I'm very grateful for that. It's made such a difference in my life and how I show up for others.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Sure. And how can we get in touch with you and share your service and how we can get in touch with you?
Okay. So you can go to Michelle R. Hannah, HANNAH.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Michelle_R_Hannah. And you can also find me on Instagram at the Self Vows Retreat. The Self Vows is basically my most recent book. You can find me there. You can go to theselfvows.com if you are interested in our Self Vows program, or if you're interested in in need of a retreat.
Okay. All right. I need a retreat. So anyway, so I'll check that out.
We all do.
And I'll put those links in the show notes so people will have access to them. And one more thing, what one piece of advice, being a solo mom yourself, would you give to a solo mom right now? Just anything.
Well, the best piece of advice is to give yourself a do-over every day. When you wake up in the morning, that's like, you can literally rebirth every day. And that's so amazing. You don't have to stay stuck in the past. So what, you blew it the day before, but you wake up, you forgive yourself for what you have done. Maybe you owe somebody an apology. You do that, and release it. And that is the most important thing to start your day off with. And then of course, after that, you go into the 5, 5, and 5. And the last thing I would say is to create your self-care regimen. You create it. Don't feel like you have to do it like someone else. You're unique. You're your own person. That's why we have different DNA. We are all unique. And you can own your genius, because trust and believe, there's something about you that is a major gift to the world.
Amen.
So you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. You absolutely matter. Even if someone hasn't told you that in a long time, you absolutely matter.
Amen. Thank you very much for that. And the apologize to someone could be yourself, right?
Absolutely. It could definitely be yourself, for sure. And sometimes apology, I feel, means something when the behavior changes.
Yeah.
So it's not about saying just, I'm sorry. It's, okay, am I willing to change the behavior? Yeah. Am I ready to change the behavior? If you're not, hold off on the sorry, because we need to be truthful. We need to be very much so connected with integrity. So maybe just hold off for a moment to where you can really mean it and change the behavior.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr.
you.
Michelle or Anna, for coming and talking to us today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I really appreciate this space as well, too. And you're doing an amazing to just really highlight, single moms. They really, really do need it. My child is now 24. She graduated from college 2 years ago. She's a double major. So you have no idea, when she walked across that stage, I cried so hard, because I cried for everything that I had made sacrifices for, the things that she doesn't even know, and so now she has a bonus dad, but so I'm not really a solo mom anymore, but at the same time, 17 years of being that, I definitely remember those times for sure.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much. And anything else?
No, that is it. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much for talking to me.